If the Fed needs a case study in transitory, look no further than this morning's report from consumer giant General Mills. The company warning it's facing price increases on many different fronts, the highest costs in at least a decade. My next guest says General Mills may have an edge in dealing with this if they act early and aggressively on pricing. Joining me now is Evercore ISI Senior Managing Director David Palmer. David, welcome.
Thank you.
So,
good afternoon.
Is it correct that General Mills thinks its supply costs will be up 7 to 8% next year?
This is for fiscal 22, and so they nudged that up from just 7%. So things are getting worse even lately. But as you said before, they've been more aggressive on the pricing side of things, and they seem to have room on the productivity. So they seem to be doing better than the average food company right now.
Sure, and I'll come back to that in a moment. But tell us why their supply costs or their supply chain problems and the input costs are still getting worse.
Well, a lot of it is labor. There's labor in everything. There's labor in these food costs, logistics, warehousing. It's causing issues with the amount of shipped on time and in full that any retailer is getting. And so sometimes it's having an impact on the actual top line as well. But for General Mills, it's really more about the costs. They're making do. They're getting their shipments to match the consumption at least. But it's coming with these elevated costs, as they're saying. So right now, it looks like they have enough pricing that's going into place. They had 4%. It's probably on its way to 5 or 6. But even that, they're saying, might not be enough. So there's a lot of inflation out there.
So if the cost of labor is now making their costs continue to go up into next year, is the Fed helping or hurting their cause, or is it completely irrelevant to it?
Well, a lot of this is the labor shortage that it exists. Companies are becoming more resigned, whether they're restaurant companies or food companies, to this labor issue sticking around. So it seems to be that is your root cause, and it's causing a lot of, of course, wage inflation, and wage expectations is the most permanent type of inflation cause, and that seems to be what is happening right now within the food chain.
Very, very interesting. So let's turn to how they're dealing with it. Because, again, even with companies facing what they're facing, they do have options. The way they employ those will tell us a lot about the economy. And then in the next year or two, you mentioned productivity, innovation. How are they using technology to get around the need for more labor hours?
Well, certainly e-commerce has been a big channel growth opportunity for them and for others. General Mills in particular has a pretty good e-commerce presence, partly because of this pet food business, which has been explosive in its growth. And one of the big surprises for this quarter for General Mills was the pet food business. People are having pets these days with people being at home. They're seemingly valuing their pets more. They've redefined that with Blue Buffalo that what pet parents will pay for pet food, and they're growing very nicely, 20% growth in that category. And then, of course, convenience and food service is coming back quickly for them. But e-commerce is also growing nicely, and that seems to be a permanent two-year step up, much like you're seeing happening in the restaurant channel as well.